So now we are done with the visualization part. So we're going to pick up the visualization part. So let me bring it up, right? Remember that we commented them out. So let me push them up, right? Let me push this part out, and then let me get rid of this line. Okay, then let me uncomment this. All right, now that's what you're going to do. The rest I will push it down again. All right, let me push the rest down again. Okay, so now what we did is the this part, which is the EDA part. So let me just put some comment here. Maybe dealing with the EDA part. All right, so that's basically what we've done so far. Now what we're going to do over here is dealing with I mean, visualization is also part of the EDA, but I just segment it over here, right? So dealing with the visualization, right? Dealing with the visualization part. All right, so that is done. So the first part is done. We're going to deal with this, and then the last part will be, I mean, the last two parts will be the model and then the about us. All right, so that part is done. Now let's see what we can do here. So the same thing that we did over here, let's set some titles, st.subtitle. I'm going to do the same thing over here. All right, so I'm going to do st.subheader, right, subheader, and then inside that I'm going to do let's see what I wrote over here. Over here I wrote data, no, not this one. I wrote exploratory data analysis. So I'm going to do visualization, just like that. Yeah, that's supposed to do for me. All right, so let's see what I can do. Let me actually let me do Ctrl S, right? Save it, come back here. Now you see that we have visualization there. You see that initially it was not there, right? It was not there. So now we've put a visualization. If you want to confirm, it's just visualization. Maybe let's add something here, right? Maybe data visualization, right? I do Ctrl S. Then if you go back, it's running. After it is, you see that now we have data visualization, right? So whatever we are doing here, it's now going to reflect over here. All right. So that part is done, right? That part is done. Now what we are going to do under this is load the data. So the same thing that we did over here, right? So let me just maybe copy this one and then bring it down, right? Let me copy this one, then bring it here. Okay, so we're going to load the data, the same thing that we did earlier on, right? We're going to load it and then display this. If data is not null, we read it, we show the first 50. I mean, that's fine. All right, that's fine. So the same thing, we need to load the data. So the same thing that we're doing over here. Now that is done. So what we're going to do after we display this is continue doing those checkbox stuff, right? Just like we did over here. So we're going to do the same thing, right? So I'm going to write if st dot, so it's just as simple as that. St dot checkbox, then I'll select multiple columns to plot, right? So in this case we cannot plot all the columns, so we need to select the columns that we want so that we can actually plot them. So select, say, multiple columns. Right, multiple columns to plot. All right, so I can do that, and then if that is done, let me add this. And what I'm going to do is to add the multi-select, right? So I'm going to add the multi-select here. For that, the column that they will select is going to be this. So select columns is actually going to be equal to st.multi-select. Okay, so inside the multi-select, I'm going to write select your preferred columns. Okay, that is done. So if I do that, right, if I do that, now this is the time that I have to give them this df.columns, right, so that they can select from, right, they can select from this. Now I'm done with that one. So what I can do after that is to actually let me do it this way. So df1, right, let me actually do it that way. That's going to be the new columns that they have selected. So it's going to be a new data set, right? So I'm going to do it like that, which is going to come from this. Inside that is going to be the columns that they have selected, right? So just the same thing that we did over here, right? Just the same thing that we did over here. It's the same thing that I'm doing here. Okay. Then I convert it to a data frame. So I'm going to do st.data frame. Then I'll pass in my df1. Okay. I pass it. Remember that when someone selects visualization, right, this part becomes inactive. So whatever we've done here will not work again. This is where the control will be given to this part, and this is what is going to happen. If someone selects EDA, right, the EDA part will be activated, and this part will not work, right? This part will not work. So forget about what we've done so far here. Forget about what we've done so far here. If you are dealing with the EDA part, so you see that we have the EDA interface, which means that we have the visualization interface, which means that the EDA interface is no more working here, right? We are not seeing that part. What we are seeing is the visualization part, and that is what is going to work. So if someone selects visualization, right, the control is now being given to the visualization. Whatever we are writing here is now going to work, and whatever is here is deactivated. Okay. If someone selects EDA, then the EDA part is going to be activated, and whatever is here is going to be deactivated. Okay. So that's basically what is going to happen. So just like we are doing everything from scratch again. Okay. Now we've been able to select some of the columns. We've converted it to a data frame. Now the next thing that we need to do is to do this checkbox stuff, right? To do this checkbox stuff. So we are done with this kind of stuff, right? So let's go down here, and then let's do some checkbox stuff, right? So if checkbox equals let me actually bring it here. If st.checkbox. Right, so inside that, let's see what we can actually do. Maybe heat map, right? Let's do some heat map here. So I can do heat map, right? So if we want to display heat map, right? So if we want to say display heat map, okay, we can do that, and then we do st.write, right? We can do st.write, and then since we want to display heat map, we can do inside this one. We can do we can use the SNS, which is the seaborne, and then we do SNS dot heat map, right? So remember that heat map is present in seaborne, right? So you can see even here that is giving you the options that you can actually put in here, right? So in this case, what we want to use is declarations, right? So df.call, right? That's what we want to do. That's the declaration heat map, right? That's what we want to actually output, right? So there are some other, you see that we have Vmax here, which is the value maximum. So we can do that. So maybe Vmax, I can do that Vmax. I can just set Vmax to say 1, right? And then all these are just hyperparameters that you can use, right? So you can say maybe square. Let me set square to true, right? Let me set square to true. You can play around with all these. I mean, it's not that mandatory, right? Annotation just to display these correlation values. Right, so I can set that 1, 2 to true, right? You can just play around with all these values, and then maybe the color map, right, which is the C map, right? You can also do that, and then for this case, I can set it to say radius, right? I mean, you have all these control. I mean, in your hand, you can play around it as you want. Okay, so that is basically done. That is basically done. So for you to actually see whatever you are plotting, you need to add this st.pyplot, right? st.pyplot, just like that. And then let's do Control S, and then go back here. Let's see what we have, right? So this is what we have over here. Now let's select the columns and then see, right? You see that we have here. Let's select some of the columns over here. Okay, so now this one is going to be converted to a new data frame for us, right? So now you see that we have something here. If I go onto display, right, heat map, now you see that it's going to, now you see that we have our heat map nicely displayed over there, right? We have our heat map nicely displayed over here. So in this case, you see that it's giving us a heat map of the whole data set, because over here we did this df, right? Otherwise we could have done df1, right? If we put df1, which is the new data set, right, then it's going to give us that one. Let me actually do that. It's going to give us the selected columns, right? So if I do that, right, it's actually running. You see that now we have only benign and malignant, because that's what we selected. That's the new one that we selected. We selected only benign and malignant. We did not add the other two, right? Otherwise, if you want the whole heat map, right, then you need to use the original one. Okay, So basically that is what you can actually do over here. You have the flexibility to do that. Okay, so that is heat map. We can also do maybe pair plots, right? We can do pair plots. So the same thing that we do in our Jupyter Notebook, just like we do over here, right? In the Jupyter Notebook, we do some maps over here. You see that we have some heat maps, some pair plots over here, right? So you can be doing the same thing. You can be doing the same thing over there. So let's do the same thing. So if st dot checkbox, right? St dot checkbox. Then inside here maybe display pair plots, right? Something like that. Display pair plot is here, right? So in that case, we use st.write, st.write, and then inside that, I mean, since we want pair plot, I mean, this is present in SNS, right? That's a cborn, so cborn.pairplot or sns.pairplot, right? So you can do it that way. Right, so we're going to pass in the new data set, that's df1. You can use it on the df, right, which is the original data set also. All right, so any data that you want, whether the original one or the one that you give the user the flexibility to sell it. Okay, so if I do that, I mean the diagonal kind, I want to set this to say KD, right? I can do that. Right, so you can, so just to give you the kernel density, originally it's going to give you histogram, but if you want to get it in this kind of a form, let me show you over here, right? If you want it to get it in this kind of a smooth, right, this kind of a smooth form, then you need to use the KD, right? Remember that the same thing that we are doing here, right? KD, you see that we have our df, right? So sns dot pair plots, and then df1 diagonal kind equals to KD, the same thing, nothing changes over here. Okay, so that is done. So as I told you, if you want to see the plot, you have to use st.pyplot. If you don't do it, nothing will show. Okay, nothing will show. You'll not get error, but nothing will show. All right, so do Control S or Command S, right? And then and I come back to my app, right? Come back to, you see that I have display pair plot here. If I click on that, right, it's actually going to run and then give me the result, right? It's going to run and give me the result over here. Now you see that we have it, right? Because we're doing it only for malignant and benign, right? That's why you see it as small as that. But you can do it on the original one, and then you get the whole one here, right? I did it for only two, just to, I mean, for the sake of time. But you can, as you're practicing alone, I urge you to just change this one. So this one, you see that I'm using the data that they selected, right? So you can just delete this one and then perform it on the original one, right? Perform it on the original one. Okay, so we've done heat map. We've also done with pair plot, right? So we can also do maybe we want to see the distribution of the target column, or we can also do that using the visualization format. So if we do st.checkbox, right, then inside that maybe we can use pie chart for that purpose. So display pie chart. All right, we can also do that, and then for that, I'm supposed to add this, right? So for that, let me do this all the columns over here. Create this new variable called all columns, and then just creating a list of that so that I can also use it later on, right? I mean, this part is not necessary. I just want to create this list so that I can actually use it later on, but you can just skip this part, right? Let's convert this to list. Okay, so I'm going to use that, and then the columns that the people will select, I'm going to name it as say pie columns. I mean, just a variable name. Okay, pie underscore columns. All right. Okay, so here I'm going to give them the flexibility to select some of the columns, but I want specifically maybe the target column, right? So let me use select box over here, right? The select box, right? And then inside that, I can let them select the column, select the column to display, something like that. Okay, and then inside that I can just pass in this this list of columns that I created. Right, let me bring it here. Okay, so that part is done. That part is done. So if I do that, let me actually do this. So over here is where I create my pie chart. Maybe I can create a new variable called pie chart, which is going to contain the pie chart data that the plots and everything that I'm going to plot, right? So that's going to be in the form of a list. So I'm going to pass in the columns that I have selected, right? So I've given them the option to select the column, and I'll store it in a variable called pie columns. So I'm going to add that one in, and then I'll count how many columns that are there, right? Which is value. I'm going to use the value count for that purpose, right? So if I do that, right, and also not only that, I'm going to use the plot, right? So I'm doing everything on one line. You can just divide it if you want. Right, I'm going to use this pie function, which is going to help me to plot it, right? And then I'm going to use this, just this auto PCT, right? So I'm going to use that. It is actually going to automatically going to give me those kind of values on the pie chart. All right. So I don't want so many decimal places, so maybe I should do it this way, right? Otherwise, it's going to give me some decimal places. So let me do it like that. Okay, let me do it like that. And then after that, I can just do st.write, st.write, and I'll pass in this that I've created over here. Right, that's what I'm going to. So over here, just like we're doing, right, we do st.write, right, and then we pass in the function, or whatever we want to plot, right? So over here I just created this separator here, right, and then I store everything in the variable called pie chart, and I'm passing in the pie chart. So we could have created everything over here too, right? So just be flexible as you want. Okay, then as I said, you have to add your st.py plot before you can actually do this, plot it, right? So st.py plot, right? If I do that, let me see if we have everything is fine. Oh, there's some error there. Okay, so it's running. Let's see. Okay, so we have display pie chart over here. Let me click on that and see what is happening. Okay, so now it's giving us flexibility to select some columns. So by default, it's just selecting some first column over there, right? So let's see what the output is, and then you see that we have a lot of data point in there. So let's select the one we want, right, which is going to be one of the target columns. So let's see if we do that. Right. Okay, so now you see what we have, right? Now you can see that we have 62.7% of the ones, and then we have 37.3% of the zeros, right? Basically, that's what we have. We have zeros and ones, right? We have only zeros and ones present in the benign. Whether the cell is benign or malignant, right? Whether the cell is cancerous or not cancerous. So this is actually a good way for you to actually know if you have data imbalance in there, right? So 37 is quite okay, but if you have like 82, and then maybe 18, something like that, then it's going to be, you have to be cautious because you'll be dealing with data imbalance over there, right? So this is just one of the data sets. You can choose a different data set, and then you can explore more, right? You can explore more on that. All right, so this is just to give you an idea of the many things that you can actually do with this, right? You can add as many plots as you want, right? So in this case, we've done it for, say, heat map, we've done it for pair plot, we've done it for pie chart. You can do it for as per your requirement. You can just be changing the code as you want, right? So this is actually to give you the idea of how things work. Okay. All right. So we are done with the visualization part. All right. So first we started with the EDA part, right, and then we move on to the visualization part. So now we're going to go to the model part. All right. So in the next video, that's what you're going to do. We're going to start with the model parts and start building how we're going to build. Remember that we only have the we have the EDA, we've done with the EDA, we've done with the visualization, but if you go to the model part, you'll see that it's empty. There's nothing there, right? So in the next video, we're going to start with the model building, right? So see you in the next video.